when I was younger, when I did interact with a spirit, told to be quiet because people would think I was weird and started to get these weird dreams, these like visions in the corner of my eyes, like hear things, see things. So I was like paranormal investigator and paranormal medium.
But I've had 2 or 3 times experiences with like a really spooky, terrified faces.
I'd got to a point where I'd blocked out spirits so much that I was really scared of it. I understood that it's okay to interact with spirits, and not all spirits are bad. My dreams are probably one of the most powerful things that I have. I used to drive my mother absolutely crazy talking about him. I had this spirit with me since as long as I can remember. His name is Peter. I used to get these horrible images when you see evil clowns with like really sharp teeth.
Hi friends, welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of the Unexplained podcast. Today, we're going to have a spooky conversation with a special guest that I recently met through one of the paranormal groups on Facebook. She has a podcast named Shell Spooky Stories. She is Shell. Shell, thank you very much for being here. It's an honor to me that you have accepted my invitation. Please present yourself to the audience. Tell us your social media and the rest of information where the people can reach out to you or check your content.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I am Shell. I am from the UK. I have a podcast which is called Shell Spooky Stories. It's started in October last year, so we're still quite new, but I love every second of it. It's my little creative outlet and my creepy place in the world. And you can find it on YouTube. On YouTube, we do I say we do. My podcast editor, Tom, creates all the imagery around the creepy stories that I create. He's an absolute genius. And he does all my editing for me, and I can't thank him enough for doing so, because I would not want that task myself.
Great. You have a person who helps you. Well, my husband helps me with my podcast as well, but the majority of edition and all those type of things, I have to do it by myself. But definitely my husband keeps the blog updated with all the collaborations, so etc. But it's good to have a person dedicated to help you with the edition in YouTube. Especially, I'm not so expert on those videos, but that is great.
Yeah, I find it really helpful because I'm quite technical, but I think the best bit of having him is that when I have my crazy ideas, I can check it with him and he can come up with like an easier way to do it, or he can tell me if it's rubbish and I'm wasting my time before I go down that like route of, doing it before. Because I'm one of those people that if I have an idea, I'm like 0 to 100, it will be done.
Okay, that is good. So, Shell, let's start with this conversation. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Are you 100% dedicated to this podcast? Because I saw that you have a book.
I do, yeah.
You're a writer. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So I do have a day job. My day job is as a social media marketing manager. So I'm always in social media. Have been since about 2018, I think. I started my business. So it's been going a while. But this is my creative outlet. This is my passion project, I call it. Whether it will become something full-time one day, who knows? I think everyone hopes that it would when they start these podcasts. We would all like that YouTube money, wouldn't we? it would help.
So,
But
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So with the creating the podcast, I started that in October last year, and I then got the idea to finally, this book had been stirring in me for ages, and I thought now is the time to get it done. I was turning 40 in January, so I set myself a deadline to say, right, this book is going to come out and it'll be available to the public on my 40th birthday, which was the 1st of January. So I started writing it for about 6 months, and then I released it on the 1st of January. So I stuck to my deadline.
Oh, congratulations. That is awesome. What is this book about? Is personal experiences? Tell us.
Yeah, there's 3 characters in there that are based around myself, my mother, and my great-grandmother. It's very heavily based on my Scottish heritage. My mum's side are all from Scotland, and it was kind of like a respectful thing for them. My mum passed away in 2021. My grandmother passed away last year. My granddad passed away 8 years ago, so they're all gone. So it was my kind of like love letter to them in a way. Something to keep them alive for like journey, centuries to come. That book will always be available, but they're not there. So it's a way for people to read about them and to keep our legacy alive. So it's based a lot on my awakening around my spiritual gifts, things that have happened to me as someone who's spiritually awake as I've gone on, which was great that a friend of mine who's a medium, she's just sort of getting to know her mediumship skills. And she's a lot younger than me, and she read the book, and she said like every chapter identified with her so much and helped her like understand why she sees the things she does, why she does the things she does. So that was really good. Like I was quite emotional with that. I was like, oh my God, I've actually helped someone with this book.
That is amazing. So that means that you have this like a ESP or this type of medium gifts. Tell us a little about.
Yeah, so I call myself a paranormal medium, which is, I thought about psychic medium, thought about medium, but I had to find something that really resonated with me. And because I'm also a paranormal investigator, I spend a lot of my time within the paranormal, especially with my podcast as well. So I was like, paranormal investigator and paranormal medium, they kind of go together. And with that, in my investigations, I'm always there to try and find out the story behind what's going on there, the history behind it. And if I can help a spirit that's stuck there move on, then I will do that. So that's how I do my mediumship. I don't go on stage and read to people. Not yet anyway. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I can't think of anything more terrifying at this point than standing on stage and being like, nothing's happening.
So, wow, Shell. So, since when or what was the event when you said, okay, this is not normal, this is something that is extraordinary? Because people with ESP, like I have a son with ESP, my oldest son. My mom's mom had the same skill. She passed away time ago, but when was what event did you experience for you to say, oh, something is different with me?
Probably since I was very, very little. I always had this sense that I was like not like my friends. There's an incident that I speak about quite often where I had this spirit with me since as long as I can remember. His name was Peter, and I always remember seeing him like probably what I would say like an 18, 19, 20-year-old boy now. And I used to talk about him all the time. I used to drive my mother absolutely crazy talking about him.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did you see him? Like a transparent ghost type of thing, or like a regular normal person?
I think back then I couldn't really define whether someone was human or a spirit. I think then they looked the same to me. I was very open. I think everyone had a very hard time reining me in, especially when I started to go to school. I was still like away with the fairies, and I remember sitting on this mat at school, and they were trying to teach us the time. And I remember sitting there being like, well, why do I have to learn the time? There's no such thing as time. Time is irrelevant. And I was about 3 or 4 years old at this point, and I was like, I don't understand the point of this.
So did you tell your mom that you were seeing this spirit?
Yeah. I used to make her put a plate at the table for him and everything.
What did she say about it?
I think she just thought it was an imaginary friend, and that she was encouraging me with my imagination. But there was one incident where we had a parents' evening where your parents come to speak to your teachers. And my teacher at the time said, oh, Michelle's been telling us all about this Peter, her brother. And my mum rolled her eyes and was like, oh, God, here we go. And because she'd made that expression, my teacher thought she'd like stepped on some ground where she'd sort of said, oh, sorry, is he like a child from a previous marriage or something? She thought it was a bit like my mum didn't want to talk about it. And she was like, no, that's Michelle's imaginary friend.
Okay, so for how long did you notice his presence? Like a years, or there were some occasions?
Yeah, I don't really remember when he disappeared. But the weird thing is, with Peter, we hadn't spoken about him for ages. And I was around my mum's one day. It was still the same house that I grew up in. And my niece, who was about 3 at the time, she was playing in the corner by herself. As kids do, she was just entertaining herself. And then she went, Peter, stop! And we all just looked at each other.
Really? So she saw him too?
Yeah, she's very open. She's incredibly gifted. And I just looked at my parents and I was like, I told you he was real.
Did you investigate about who was he? Or, I mean, were you curious to know about it, or you just let it pass it?
Not at the time. I wasn't. At the time, I'd got to a point where I'd blocked out spirit so much that I was really scared of it, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Since I've got back into working with spirit and accepting who I am, I have actually done some research, and the woods that used to be behind our house had some soldiers that used to escape from a World War II training camp nearby. And they used to climb the trees so that they didn't get detected. And some of them would die of exposure when they were up there. So from the elements and stuff. So that's the only thing that I can kind of put together with him being around.
So, and what did you feel when you see him? Like, were you afraid, curious, or just like you got used to see him?
Yeah, I think I just thought he was a friend.
Okay.
I didn't really think anything of it, to be honest.
Okay. Were there any other spirits that you noticed at that time, or only just Peter was the presence of the?
Yeah, I used to notice quite a lot. I remember being at a friend's once when we were younger. We went for like a play date, and I said to her, like, who's the lady in the picture? And she said, oh, that's my nanny. She died. And I was like, no, she didn't. She's there, because she was in the room. And that really upset my friend at the time. And my mum got called and I had to like leave, and it was a whole thing because obviously I'd upset them. But to me, I didn't really understand what was going on, because I was like, she's not dead. She's standing in the doorway. Like, why are you lying to me?
Wow.
So, yeah, it was really strange.
So, Shell, okay, so you said that for a certain period of time is like you blocked that gift. We could say that.
Yeah.
And so, since when you started to have this, I don't know, curiosity to start like a retaking this gift or skills that you, because you were born like that, right? So since you were little, you remembered having those experiences. So what was the event, or what triggers for you to decide, okay, I'm gonna study, or I'm gonna do research, and then you became as a paranormal investigator?
Yeah, so this happened when my granddad passed away, actually. I was so close to my granddad. He was like a second dad to me. He was like my hero. He was absolutely everything to me. So when he passed, it was probably the first really significant person in my life that had passed away. And my mental health just took an absolute dive. I was not sleeping, and then all through the day I was sleeping. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't looking after myself. I was just in a horrible, horrible place. And I remember I went to a doctor and I said to them, like, I need some help. And they said to me, like, oh, we can give you a tablet to like numb everything. And I was like, are you joking?
Give you sorry for interruption. Give you a what?
A tablet, like medication. So like a daily tablet to take. And I said, I'm already numb. I can't be any more numb than I already am. So I went home and I decided that I would just find a way to help myself. And I started to look into sort of positive affirmations. So, you know, where you tell yourself, like you reprogram your brain to be like, I am wonderful, I am worthy, etc. I started reading books. I started watching YouTube videos. I just immersed myself in anything positive that I could find. And that kind of then led me into meditation, which is when I then started to open up again and started to get these weird dreams, these like visions in the corner of my eyes, like hear things, see things.
So how old were you when your grandfather died?
So this was probably about 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So but after his death, you got depressed because obviously it was something that hurt you a lot, right?
Yeah.
So after that, you felt depressed, and then you started to reading books, maybe that help you to like retake. I don't know what word to use, like for you to decide, okay, there is a gift in me, so I can learn about this. So you decided to investigate, or did you have any paranormal experience with your grandfather? Did you see him? Did you feel it?
Not to start with, because I was probably grieving so much that I just couldn't, like, if I saw him, I would have just cried and not stopped. But since then, I call them our dream dates. When I dream at nighttime, I'll often go to my granddad's. When my granddad passed, they lived in a small little bungalow, which is like a little cottage type thing.
Okay.
But before that, the whole time I knew them growing up, they lived in a flat, like an apartment. And every time I dream my granddad, he is in that apartment. And I can see it, like the carpet, the furniture, the flowers, the pictures that they used to have, the books. It's all there. And my granddad's there. And I know he's passed away in my dream. I know that he's dead. And we have like conversations where I'll sit on a chair next to him and we'll be having a conversation. And other people are just around us, just doing their day-to-day business. But it's like me and him are the only people in the room, and we're having these really deep conversations. So that happens quite a lot, which is quite nice. It's quite comforting now. The first time I thought, what is this? This is really weird. But it's comforting now that I can still have that interaction with him.
Because were really vivid dreams, right? You
Yeah.
felt like a vivid dreams.
Yeah, my dreams are probably one of the most powerful things that I have, I think.
So previous to that, have you had any experience dreaming a dead person?
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
Okay.
I was gonna say, to me, dreams have meanings. I dream a lot, and I dream with a lot of people that passed away. So to me, our meanings like either sometimes they need any type of help, or I don't know, something, or not help. Put it this way, so I feel like they are protecting. Like in my case, my two grandmothers passed away time ago. So from time to time, I have dreams with them, and I feel like that. So do you feel something like that? What do you think? What is your perspective when you have these vivid dreams with your grandfather?
So when I have the dreams with him, I personally think it's a space where he's able to give me the kind of advice. I think he acts a bit like a spirit guide. And he's able to give me the advice that he would give me like when he was alive. And I think I would go to that apartment where they lived because it's such a fond memory. I spent so much of my life there, reading, having him tell stories to me, having him teach me things, having my nanny grandmother teach me things, watching, programs or films that I love now because of the time I spent with them. So I think it's a really safe space for me to have an interaction with a spirit and not be scared.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of created that little dream place where I can do that, so that I understood that it's okay to interact with spirits, and spirits, not all spirits are bad. Like, you can interact with a spirit and a spirit be kind because they used to be someone's mother, they used to be someone's child, or something like that. I think it was all done to teach me that it's okay to be me, and it's okay that I've got this gift, and it's okay to interact with spirits. Because I immediately used to think that if I interacted with a spirit, it would be a bad thing. Probably because when I was younger, when I did interact with a spirit, I was told that it was my imagination. I told it was an imaginary friend. Told to be quiet because people would think I was weird. Or, removed from my friend's home because I saw a spirit and I didn't realise it was a spirit and I thought my friend was lying to me. So I've always had a negative feeling around it. So I think he created that space to allow me to know that it was good. Yeah.
To feel him close to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you the first questions at the beginning of the episode, but I don't think it's needed. I was gonna ask if you believe in the paranormal phenomenon, but I think your response is gonna be yes, because you have experienced a lot of paranormal or supernatural experiences.
Yeah.
So, okay, have you had, because what you are telling me about your grandfather Peter, these good spirits, right? Which is, it's great to have these good experiences. Have you had any bad, spooky, like a evil entity or spirit that tried to attack you, to do some type of harm? Tell me something about a bad spirit that you have had any, I don't know, experience.
I've had, so when I was first going back into opening up to spirits, before I used to go to sleep, I used to get these horrible images. There were like, You know when you see evil clowns with like really sharp teeth and like black eyes and scraggly hair and they're like laughing and stuff like that. I used to see constantly, and it would be like they were right up against my face. And
Were you sleeping, Shell, or
so this
you
was like,
awake?
you know, when you put your head on your pillow and you're just closing your eyes and you're just trying to get to sleep, it would be then. The minute I closed my eyes, they would be there. And then I'd open my eyes, I'd close my eyes, and they'd still be there. And this would happen for ages. And eventually I got to the point where I reached out to a medium that actually my mum and I used to go see. And I said to her, this is happening to me and I have no idea what's going on. I can't stop it. I've tried everything that I know. Please help me. And this was where she told me that I was kind of being pushed to learn how to protect myself, because I knew how to open up. I didn't know how to close down. So I was being shown all of this to push me towards learning about protection and learning about closing myself down and putting boundaries in place.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I've seen some really disturbing stuff.
So what you just said, I've had those experiences probably 2-3 times. Often exactly like you just described, the minute that I just close the eyes and put the head on the pillow, just close the eyes and had these type of faces, unknown faces, but most of the times are not bad faces, not spooky faces, like unknown people. But I've had 2 or 3 times experiences with like a really spooky, terrified faces. And as soon as I opened the eyes, I was like, oh my God, what was that? It was not a dream because I was not sleeping.
Yeah.
I was in the process to fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly what you described. You are not totally, you are in the process to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you see this, but you said all the time, like every night?
Yeah,
or
every night. I didn't
Wow.
sleep very well.
So, Shell, tell me, what is your belief? Or what is how do you protect yourself? Because you just mentioned about to put boundaries and try to learn how to get protected. So, do you practice any religion? Do you have any I don't know that word in Spanish, any type, like a medal of any saint, or what are your beliefs? Tell me about that.
So I don't particularly have any, I don't know if I wouldn't say that I don't have a religious belief. I believe there's something. As to what something is, I don't know. I don't really want to put a name on it, because I can see in all types of religion, I can identify with something. And so I don't ever put a name on what I would do or what I believe in. The one thing that I do definitely believe in is guardian angels and archangels. I definitely believe in them. So when these things happen, I always call upon my guides, my angels, my guardian angels, an archangel, when something does happen. I'm at the stage now when if I see that face, I will just tell it to go away. I'll be like, no, not dealing with you, go away.
Okay.
And
that works, or
most of the time it does work, because I work a lot on my energy being high and in good spirit. So I put the boundary there that if anything negative comes towards me, I will just be like, no. They know that I've put a wall up and it's not happening. So it's taken a while to get to that point. But it doesn't particularly, when I go on an investigation, it doesn't particularly bother me if somebody says, oh, this place is demonic. Yeah, I'll be like, well, yeah, okay, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, that was my other question. So describe me any event when somebody called to say, hey, I have problems maybe in my house, in my business, I don't know. Tell me how those paranormal investigations are perform. So do you advertise yourself as a paranormal investigator so that people can reach to you asking for help, or how does this work?
So I'm part of a team. So we all have our individual, I suppose, gifts, roles, within the team. So Liam is the founder of the team. He started it with his dad. And I joined about a year ago. And went on my investigations with them. We go to loads of different places. We've only done one since I've been in with the team, where somebody who Liam actually knew said that they'd been having really weird stuff happen in the house. So we went round there, and I did a walk around the house with the person who owned the property. I said to them, don't tell me anything unless I ask, because I didn't want to get fed any information. I just wanted to go around the house and feel the energy.
Okay.
So I picked up on a few things. I asked, you could walk into like one bedroom and it was really heavy. You could just feel like it's the same, I call it the same as like when you walk in a room and people have just been arguing and they've stopped. And you can kind of tell that there's something going on, but you're not quite sure what, and you just don't want to like ask any questions because you can feel the tension. It's a little bit like that. So we went round, and then we started to do the actual investigation to try and work out who it was, what they wanted. We used equipment. I usually use a pendulum, just to kind of confirm what my intuition's telling me. So we worked out basically that it was the man who had originally lived at the property, passed away, and hadn't crossed over. And as time went on, people had obviously came into the house, redecorated, and he didn't quite understand why and what was going on. He just still saw it as his house. So he was getting really angry. And as the years went on, he was just like, it was building and building, building. So that's why he was causing some trouble. And I also think that they can cause trouble to actually get somebody around to help them. I think it's a bit like when a child gets really upset and starts, screaming because they know that somebody's going to like come to them and tell them something or come to them to give them attention. So I think it's a little bit like that sometimes, that they can start doing naughty stuff around the house, so that you get to that point where you're like, I need to phone somebody to get them around here to help.
Yeah. So like in this, like at this specific case that you mentioned about this person that died there, like he was angry. How did you detect that? Is like you felt him? Did you see him? Or did you talk to him? Or how did you know was this man that passed away there? So
Yeah.
just trying to understand, how did you get these vibes or these energies? I've seen different people, like my son has like a flash, like a quick flash in his mind, like a seeing things or sensing things. Tell me about what are your experiences about these places.
Yeah, so with myself, I always find this really hard to describe, but I can feel things so strongly that it will give me an image.
Okay.
I won't physically see it, but I'll know within me, like there's a horse, because I know what a horse feels like. I'll know that there's grass. I'll know that there's a person stood there. I can tell you what that person looks like down to, the buttons on his jacket. But it's all a feeling that I get given. So that's how I get a lot of things. And when I get that feeling, like I remember seeing him and his wife and like kids running around the house. And that's when I was like, no, this guy used to live here.
Okay.
So then I asked, like, on the pendulum, I was like, did you used to live here? And it said yes. And I was like, okay, well, that confirms what I'm obviously seeing. And then they may not give me any other feelings. So I'll then have to ask some questions and use the pendulum to try and figure things out. It's a little bit like being a detective and you're trying to like put the pieces of the puzzle together and you're like, okay. So I kind of worked it all out. And then I was like, right, okay, well, do you want me to cross you over? Is that why you've brought us here? And the pendulum said yes. And I was like, right, okay. And I said, right, well, can you just confirm for me again that you are very happy for me to cross you over? And it said yes, because I want their permission. I don't want to like just assume, because it's not my place to decide whether he wants to go or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I ended up crossing him over. I used a little tea light candle to represent the light. I got everyone in the room to be quiet and just like close their eyes and create a peaceful place within them, so that we've got the right energy. And then I closed my eyes and I basically act a bit like a counsellor, and kind of talking through like leaving the property and being like, you can come back, but you have to understand that people are creating their own memories here now. Time's gone by. It's no longer the time when it was your house, but it will always be your home because you were the first person here. So you're happy, you know, you can come back, but you're not to cause any trouble when you come back.
Okay, yeah.
You know, we've got to set some boundaries. And I always like envision that white light that you kind of see in the movies where it's like a tunnel, and I can always see the shadows. They like come forward and I'm like, I know that that's your family there and they're waiting for you. And I feel so honoured that I can actually do that, because the energy that you feel there in that moment always chokes me up, because it is the purest form of love that you could ever feel. And it's just, you can never feel that in life, because there is no anger, there's no sadness, there's no other issues, because we can feel love now. You know, I feel love towards my partner, my family, my dogs, you know.
Yeah.
I know what love is, but I always have that like stress of my daily life. I have, you know, other things to worry about. I've got, you know, I might have a headache at the same time, or, you know, my back might hurt. There's always something else that comes with that emotion of love. In that space, there's nothing other than love. And it's so magical and so powerful. It's just beautiful.
Wow. So by doing that, do you use or do you say any prayer, or is just to talk to this person, like trying to guide him or guide her to follow the light or the tunnel? Or
yeah, I've done it 3 times now. I used to cross spirits over a lot in my dreams. And I didn't know I was doing it. It was just happening. It was only when I explained that what I was doing that somebody was like, you do realise you're crossing spirits over in your sleep? And I was like, oh, okay.
wow.
But every time I've done it in the physical, it's been different every time, because I just say what I feel guided to say. So I just close my eyes and just let it all come out.
It's like flowing through you, trying to help this person, and
Yeah.
but not a specific prayer or something,
No.
like a ritual, right? It's not like okay.
Yeah, I don't like sit and, you know, read a notepad and be like, okay, I've got to say this next because that's what I've been told to say. I just trust that my spirit guides, the angels, whoever's around in that moment will tell me the correct things to say to this spirit, and you know, make it a personal experience. But I remember the first time I did it, my friends, we didn't have any candles, so we had to use a torch to create the like beam of light. It's all about, you know, putting your, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like intention. It's, you know, it's
Intention, yes.
yeah, like it's all about intention. So they're not going to worry whether it's a candle or a torch. They're just concerned about going over.
Yeah,
But
you can use any type of flame or something, fire, or any representative
Yeah.
to a candle, right? But the
Yeah.
intention that you're gonna put is the one that counts. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they worry, but they were saying that because I had my eyes closed, I didn't know this was happening, but they were saying that the torchlight was just going like this, in and out. And then when I'd crossed the spirit over, it just went straight on, and that was it. And it stopped moving. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay.
So, Shell, let me ask you something. Have you played with Ouija board?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope.
So, yeah, well, interesting because I wanted to ask you. I've heard many spooky stories about people who have played Ouija board. I tried to play it once and things got really weird, so we didn't continue to do it. So, do you use any other, I don't know, like a tarot cards or something like that?
Yeah, I often have. I don't particularly use tarot. I mean, I've got some tarot cards. I've got a whole bookshelf full of them. I more collect those. Oracle cards I use because I like the energy around them. They've all got different meanings and different purposes. So I tend to use them a lot. I only use them on myself, really. I have started doing some daily guidance ones on my YouTube channel, where you like pick the card that you're drawn to and it gives you a meaning for the day, just because I thought there's so much rubbish going on in the world that people need like a little pick-me-up. So I thought it's something I can do. It's something that will maybe help someone that comes across it. So I just started doing that. But I use oracle cards. I use a pendulum, which some people think pendulums are dark. But I'm very much into the old way of spiritualism. So I've got a scrying mirror. That's a recent purchase of mine.
What is that? Sorry?
So a scrying mirror is a mirror which is pure black. They're usually made of obsidian crystal. So I don't have it to hand, otherwise I'd show you. But it's so it's like you look in a mirror and the glass is pure black.
So okay, mirror is like a mirror.
Yes,
the word mirror.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. It's all right. It's
Got
fine. I think it's my accent sometimes as well. So it's just pure black glass rather than you seeing your reflection. And you're meant to have it laying down flat. So in the mirror, it will only reflect darkness. So it won't have any light in it or anything. And you're meant to stare into it and you will see like images.
Really?
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
interesting. But I'm really into like Victorians and how Victorians went about spiritualism because they were obsessed with it. And that's where a lot of the things that we use now got invented. So I like the old method.
So, but how does this work? It's like you have the mirror and you have the person there and you put a mirror in front of the person, or the mirror is going to be in front of you for you to detect?
Yeah, the mirror's in front of me.
Okay.
I have it like laying on a table and I'll be sat just staring down into it rather than have it like in front of me. So you're meant to have candles either side as well, so that we use I can't remember which side it is, but one of your sides of your brain's very like logical and the other side is your creative side, so that when you have these candles going, they then trick your mind into your creative side, so that you can then think, you can then start to see stuff happening.
So is the light of the candle is like the reflection in the mirror that will tell you any type of, I don't know, vision, image or something like that?
I think that just helps you to use your imagination or open up or stop being so critical or logical about what you're seeing in the mirror. So it's very interesting. But there's also a thing that Victorians used to do, which was have a room where they'd put a chair and you'd have a mirror and a candle in front of the mirror.
Okay.
So you'd sit in front of a mirror, have the candle in front of you, but behind you would be another mirror.
Okay.
So it creates what they would call a portal. They used to call it a sanatorium. And you'd sit in there and you'd stare into this candle and the mirror in front of you. But often you'd see things in the mirror behind you as well. and it plays with your senses, and because you're shut off from the world, all you've got is you and a candle, and people see lots of things.
That is so interesting. I've seen actually some type of videos like mirrors are portals, and you can play with candles, mirrors. Well, actually, I was told in the past not to put a candle in front of the mirror because could be some type of entity around and looking for that light, and could come out from the mirror because they follow the light. Is that true? Tell me.
I've heard that before. I personally don't look in mirrors at nighttime. Like
Really?
if I go to my bathroom during the night, I will avoid the mirror.
Oh.
I don't know why. I've just got some like intuition about it that I shouldn't look in the mirror. But a mirror is always meant to be a reflection of you. When you start doing work with your mental health and stuff, they'll ask you to stand in front of a mirror and say things like your affirmations. So you're saying to your mirror self, like, I am worthy, because that mirror version of you is the one saying you're not worthy. And whenever we look in the mirror, we always see bad things about ourselves, don't we? Like, oh, my hair's a mess, my eyebrows are out of place, I need to
I don't like myself.
Yeah. So I always think they hold like a lot of negative energy anyway, because we see ourselves differently in a mirror to how other people see us. I think there's a lot to do with mirrors. It's a very deep dive.
Wow. So well, everybody knows my story, but just real quick, I was trying to catch anything paranormal, ghost, video, EVP in one of my craziness ghost tours here in Austin, Texas. So, and I didn't know that something was going to happen to me, but I had a really bad dream with sleep paralysis. Like a black mass was on top of me, and I wanted to pray and I couldn't. Well, long story short, things started happening here in my house. I was feeling like observed, had to go to a church to get holy water because not only me was feeling those weird presences here, but my husband. He had all kind of experiences as well. So, and I have a friend that her daughter has this ESP, and she has these spiritual guides. And once she texted me saying, don't put candles in front of the mirror. And I was like, how do you know that candle is in front of the mirror? And the spiritual guide told her daughter to tell me. In the first floor, take the candle out from in front of the mirror. So because I was doing some prayers about to get rid of these bad energies here, so part of the ritual was to lit a candle and do some prayers, but not in front of the mirror. So, and I didn't know that. Okay. So that's the reason I ask you about that, because it's, to me, a little bit, I don't know, spooky.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, let me see. I forgot what I was going to ask you. Okay, so I remember. Have you had, tell me the spookiest experience that you have experienced doing paranormal investigation, or maybe at home, or something that really, really spooked you?
Let me think. Someone asked me this the other day, and I was like, I don't actually think I've had any really spooky experiences, because I feel so strong in myself now that I don't really, I've seen things happen to other people. I've seen people being taken over by spirits. But usually my first instinct, rather than be like, oh my God, what's happening, is to help them.
Okay.
So I don't really ever get freaked out by it. I usually sit there and I'm like clicking at them to like stop them being taken over, or, you know, I'm trying to put sage around them or something. Yeah, so I don't usually get there's been places where I've walked down like a corridor and it feels really weird, and I'm like, I don't really like this. Like, I wouldn't walk down here by myself. I'm glad someone's with me.
So you avoid those places.
Well, I wouldn't still really avoid them. So long as someone's with me on those ones, then I'd probably still be okay. There was a funny incident recently where I had the Spirit Talker app on my phone, and we'd been all sat in this corridor, and this is probably the only time I've actually jumped out of my skin on a paranormal investigation.
Really? Why?
I put it on loud because we were all dotted out across this long corridor.
Okay.
And we'd heard tapping from a door beside me. And so I was like, well, I don't know what that could be. So I opened the door to see whether there was anything going on. And there was a boiler in there and it was ticking. So I said, well, that's the tapping. It sounds exactly the same. So we've debunked that. But they had like another little closet, which looked really old. So I opened it. And as I opened the door, Spirit Talker, for the first time in 10 minutes, shouted something at me. So I ended up throwing my phone up in the air, screaming because it made me jump so much.
Wow.
And running out of the room, and everyone was like, what happened, because they obviously thought that I'd opened this door and seen something and like ran off, and I was like, my phone just shouted at me. I forgot it was on. It just made me jump. So I think that's the only time I've properly jumped on a paranormal investigation. But we do mess about sometimes, and like we'll hang outside doors and try and make the other person jump and stuff, because sometimes you get so like into the investigation that you need something to happen to like boost your energy a little bit so that you can then carry on. Because when you're there and it's cold and it's 3 a.m, you want to go home and be in your bed, but you need to like do something to up the energy a bit. So we do mess about sometimes, but we are serious the rest of the time.
Okay, so Shell, about your podcast, your stories. I'm following now on YouTube and Spotify.
Thank you.
I was hearing, yeah, sure. I was hearing stories about this girl that was murdered. So tell me about, where did you get those stories? Are you getting information from your followers? Or how do you... What is the criteria for you to say, I'm going to tell this story? Or tell me about, are those true events or some are fiction? Tell me more about it.
So when I first started, they were mainly stories that I just made up, because I love a spooky story. Always have done, always will do. So I just made some up. But then I love reading. You might notice that I've got a library behind me. Books are my go-to. So anything that involves me reading, I will read it. I also listen to a lot of podcasts around this stuff, and I watch a lot of YouTube around this stuff. I probably don't even watch normal TV anymore. It's mainly other people telling stories or podcasts. So I get a lot of inspiration from things that I'll hear or I'll read, and I'll be like, that's really good. Like, I want to do a story on that. So that's where a lot of things come from. I've got so many paranormal books about places. I've got a massive encyclopedia of paranormal things that my best friend got me for my birthday, which is incredible. There's so much in there. I'd probably take me the rest of my life to actually read everything that's in there. But she even gave it to me with a little note that said, this will help you with your stories. So there's loads of stuff in there. I'll watch something on YouTube about, Waverly Hills, and I'll be like, that's a really cool place. I'm not actually maybe ever going to get to go there. However, if anyone wants to reach out to me and like fly me over and get me to investigate it, I'd be happy to come.
Okay.
But I that place fascinates me. It's got so much history. Just for me, the best thing about the paranormal is the history and the stories. Why are these people stuck here? Who lived here? Is there a way that we can tell their story from beyond the grave and keep them, alive in some way? Like, I also think that a lot of things told about certain people may not have been the truth.
Okay.
So, is there a way that we can tell their story that honors their memory rather than, tarnishes it in a way?
Mhm.
I think stories are really powerful, and I think stories, if we don't keep telling them, will get lost, and all these people will get lost, all these places will get lost in history. I mean, a lot of places are getting old and they're falling down. If we aren't
Yeah.
paying to go there and investigate, who's paying to go there? Who's keeping the place alive?
Yeah, it's true. I'm like you. So every time like I travel or any like a old building
Mhm.
attracts me a lot because I'm thinking, oh my God, all the history in this place, all the people who lived and died here is really interesting.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you something about you as a paranormal medium. Like, have you had any experience or maybe people reach out to you saying, can you can you, or something like can you send something on me, like if I have any attachment, spirit attachment? So do you see those type of energies in persons, or is just in the places?
So sometimes when I talk to people, this can be quite distracting. When I talk to people, I can see their energy around them. It happens a lot when I'm in meetings. I don't know why, but when I'm at work, I'm meant to be very like logical, and I'll be on a Zoom or a Teams meeting and I'll just see like this massive like ball of energy around someone. It'll be like illuminating, and I'll be like sitting there staring at them, and I'm like, I should be paying attention or taking notes, not staring at someone's energy.
I know it's
But
distracting you.
yeah, it's really odd how it happens. But I know I've never had anyone come to me and kind of say it. But there has been moments where we've been on an investigation and somebody's acting a bit weird. It's usually Liam, who's the guy who set the team up. I think we were at the old Nick prison in Gainsborough, and he left early because he'd been like physically choked in a prison cell. So he was like, this is enough for me. I'm going home. So he'd gone back to the hotel, but me and Sarah in the group, we stayed on, and we were doing, there was 3 cells, and in the middle cell was one of our team doing the Estes method. So they've got headphones on with radio on, and then they've got a blindfold on. Someone was outside that cell whispering questions to him, and we were in another cell doing the pendulum to see whether everything tied up, and all we kept hearing was the Liam, and then Liam said some other words, then Liam, and we were like, right, something's going on. And I was like, he has taken something home with him, and we're being warned, because it then said Liam's dad's name, and whenever that happens, it's usually because his dad's in spirit. So we always know that that's Kevin coming in to protect him. So I then asked the pendulum, I was like, has something gone home with Liam? And it was like, yes. And he actually had one of the worst attachments that he's had. He was really suffering. And I had to get a lady I know in America, weirdly, who's an incredible energy worker. She's absolutely amazing, to clear him. And he slept the best he ever slept after she cleared him.
What did she do to him? Like a cleanse or
Yeah, so she did like a cleanse. She like removed whatever it was around him, sent it back to where it came from, and then cleansed him so that he was able to feel better and go about his day.
So, and what were the symptoms that Liam? How did you all know that he had this bad attachment? What did he feel?
So he starts to get a bit angry, like his temper, he gets really like short and a bit stressed. And then you can kind of tell that he's just like had enough and he just will like leave. But I started to get like an inkling that something was going on when he said, "I'm going." And I was like, okay. And then when that whole thing happened with the Estes method showing his name and stuff, I was like, this is just confirming what I thought. I even texted him to see whether he was still awake, to say like, are you okay?
What is that name?
The Estes method, do you mean? Or
Estes method, what is that? Is a name or is a place?
It's a method that you do when you put your headphones on and you have a blindfold, and it's what do they call it, like sensory deprivation. So you're meant to just be channeling the words or saying what you hear, and people ask you questions, and sometimes it's really spot on as to how you're answering.
How do you spell that word, Shell, for me? I'm just
ESTES. I might be wrong.
Estes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a strange word.
Okay.
I'm sure
maybe
it means
British
something.
One? I've never heard it before.
Yeah. If you ever watched like Sam and Colby or any of those, they tend to do it on there quite a lot. Who's the other ones? Yeah, all of the big paranormal YouTubers do it.
Okay. But this is for when you do the paranormal research, right? This
is when you're at the investigation. So what you'll do is you'll sit in a room and you'll have the radios on that search different frequencies. So they'll spurt out random words as they go through different stations. So you've got that plugged into headphones, really loud, so you can't hear anything other than what's going on inside. You then got a blindfold on so that your senses are like proper deprived and you can only like focus on what you're hearing.
Okay.
So you can't hear the other person that's asking you questions either. Well, you shouldn't be able to. So when that person then says to you, like, "Can you tell me my name?" And then they'll be like, "Shell." And then you'd be like, "Oh, okay." You're answering quite like
interesting,
intelligent. It's really fascinating to do. I get a bit too distracted because I think it's all a bit too busy for my brain when I do it. But I want to try it more just to see. I've only done it a couple of times and I think I was just a bit like, this is just really loud and noisy and I don't like it.
Yeah. So, Shell, have you had any experience, or have you feel afraid when you do these researches? Or is something that, as you said, you put your boundaries and you have everything clear that nothing is going to happen because you're not gonna allow it?
Yeah, I don't really feel afraid, no. As to whether I will eventually come across something that I know that there's going to be a point where something can break my boundary, or I'll have my guard down that day and won't have done something. Like I'm quite religious about putting on I wear a tourmaline ring when I go in. I also have a bracelet that's done with obsidian dragon glass, which has got a St. Benedict on it, which St. Benedict was all about. They use him a lot in exorcisms.
Yes.
So I wear that. I have a necklace that has got an obsidian pendulum on. And I also wear a St. Michael's. So
you are very well protected.
Yeah. Liam likes to joke that my protection is like a steel wall enough. He's surprised that I get any interaction with spirits because I'm so protected.
But that's the reason you have had only good experiences. I mean, nothing like really, really spooked to the point to get, God forbidden, harmful to you.
I mean, I want to push myself more. So as to whether something will happen to me, whether I'll have, it's all about experience. And I think you kind of get what you put into it as well. Like if somebody goes in really negative, they've had a bad day, they're angry, they're going to be at that level where they will attract negativity. It's a like for like situation. Whereas if I go in, high energy, protected, happy, then I'm going to interact with like the higher energies. I can still tell that there's negative ones around, but my interactions, I've kind of set that level where I'm like, nope, only good stuff is happening tonight.
Yes. There is a phrase like you attract what you are, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, well, interesting. Last question, Shell. Do you see anything on me, around me, by chance? Do you sense something?
Let me concentrate for a minute. You've got two people like behind you, but they seem more angelic than anything.
Really?
Yeah, they've got very high vibration, like it's almost like a protection. So they're either side, which is usually their spirit guide and an angel. I can't remember which side is which, I always forget, but I don't think it particularly matters as long as you know you're protected. So yeah, and you've got a nice gold glow about you, which is all high vibration and nice energy.
Oh,
So
that is awesome. Well,
yeah.
that is awesome to know.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Can you imagine if I went, oh no, there's a demon behind you, like you need to leave.
I have my holy water here.
That's good.
Very well protected. So, well, Shell, thank you very much for your time. Really enjoyed this conversation. Really interesting. Do you want to say any story that probably somebody shared to you, or anything that you may want to say before to close with this episode?
You caught me on the spot there. I think the only thing I would say is that if you're curious about the paranormal, to not be afraid of it, to actually explore it. Because I think a lot of people immediately think that if you go into a haunted house, you're going to see chairs flying, people are going to get scratched, people are going to get possessed, they're going to levitate off the ceiling and all the rest of it. But it's not like that at all. It can actually be very comforting, which sounds really weird, but it can be nice to go to somewhere and feel, their history, their memories. It's nice to honour these people and not have them be forgotten, because I can't think of anything worse than if I died and I was stuck somewhere and people were coming in and out and living their lives, and I was just stuck there watching it all without anyone acknowledging me. It would be awful, and I probably would in the end be bitter and be a bit angry and probably slam a cupboard or two because I'd be annoyed that no one was paying attention to me. So I think it's nice that even if you have feel a presence in your own home, to acknowledge it. But there is a but with this one. Don't be silly and start doing Ouija boards, or
Yes.
You have to know what you're doing. But
attracting start doing things that could attract bad things, right?
Yeah, because there have been places and people that have thought they've got something in their house. They then start going on all these apps. They then start having conversations with these things. But what people don't understand is these apps are also programs with a bank of words. And a lot of those words are designed to be around paranormal things. So it will have the word demon in there. It will have devil. It will have all these other things. So when you start looking at, into these things and it starts saying like, I am a demon, and you'll be like, oh, I've got a demon in my house. Like, you haven't. You've got to know what you're doing and take everything with a pinch of salt sometimes. And sometimes you've literally got to take salt with you and chuck it all over the place to cleanse your house. So salt's very handy, by the way. Salt is very handy.
Salt?
Yeah.
I've heard about to use salt for protection, to put like a boundary or barrier around the house.
Yep. It's very
So
good for grounding you as well. Like if you're feeling a bit out of sorts, just put some salts in a bath and you'll start to feel a bit better.
really, I've heard, or I've seen. Well, I've heard, uh, even to take like a bath, in the bathtub, you can put a little bit of salt or
Mhm.
any prayers that will help.
Yeah,
Is what I've heard.
salts in a bath, salts in oils. I've got a little. I actually found it in a charity shop, and it's got a thistle on, which is the Scottish flower, and but it's like an amethyst where the purple flower would be. It's really pretty and it looks really old. It was only £1.50 as well, which is a bargain. And
Wow,
I put salt in that and have it in my paranormal kit. I carry it everywhere.
really?
And they also say that someone told me this recently, and it really does work. If you're having a bad day, I think this was the lovely JJ that I interviewed recently. She said that if you're somewhere and you feel the energy's really off, you can be in a restaurant, for example. You can take the salt with you from the table or some in your hand, rub it over your hands, and then rinse it off, and then just let your hands air dry. And it gets a different energy. I do it all the time. Like if I feel that I've got a pot of salt up there, and if I'm working and I feel a bit stressed,
like a regular salt from the kitchen.
yeah, it's just salt. Yeah,
Oh,
just to
wow.
rub it all over your hands, and then just rinse it off in water, and then you're giving yourself a bit of a cleanse, and it turns your energy right around.
Okay, well, good advice. Well,
Yeah, not only is it
okay.
good in food, it is great for everything else as well.
Well, Shell, thank you very much again for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed this episode. Friends, if you are hearing this, if you like the content, go to my YouTube channel, leave some comments, or go to Spotify, give me a rate based on the content of this episode. And Shell, give us again your social media and where the people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so I am pretty much everywhere, but I am most active on TikTok, YouTube, all the podcast platforms, and Instagram. They are the main ones that I'm active on. And it's all Shell Spooky Stories.
All spooky stories. Okay,
Yeah.
go and check the content from Shell. Is really good. I just started to hear some of the
Thank you.
spooky stories she has on Spotify and YouTube. All right, thank you, everyone. See you next time. I send blessings to you all, and see you all next on the Unexplained story.